I don't need to tell you. We already know that our speaker today is the Reverend Marilyn Osborne. And you know her bio already, so I don't need to read you the bio. But I can tell you she is a minister, a mother, a businesswoman, but most important, she's a faithful child of God. And as such, you know, she really, truly understands something very important. She understands love. She understands forgiveness. So her presentation today is going to be a continuation of what she did last time she was here last month. Talking about relationship of love with forgiveness. And I want to read something that Brian sent out to everybody. So you saw a little bit about her bio. It's all here if you're on Brian's list. But what caught my eye is the last sentence. And it says, Marilyn Osborne believes that her God-given message is her birthright. And she is joylessly committed to sharing with others. And she has come here today to share with us. Let's welcome her.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let us pray. Holy Spirit, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Holy Spirit. We feel your presence in this place, and we feel your presence within us. Thank you. So today, we're talking a little bit more about forgiveness, but I wanted to do it today from a different perspective than what we did last time. In our discussion last time, we focused more on loving of ourselves, releasing our judgments, releasing our past and all the attachments that just keep us stuck in negative energies. And then we talked about feeling our feelings even when they don't feel good, because they just don't go away when we deny them or resist them. They still stay with us, and they just come out in other ways. And I felt like this was still an important topic to talk about today, but take it from a different perspective. And that's the perspective that everything is really okay as it is, because everything is still in divine order. Everything happens just as it should happen. So today, we're going to take a deeper dive and just look at forgiveness from that perspective, and how true forgiveness can guide us in living our soul's plan. We know that each of us have a divine purpose, that every moment of our lives we are facilitating the unfoldment of the purpose that God has given us, which is our soul's plan. Scripture tells us that even before we were formed in our mother's womb, that God knew us and God called us by name. So our souls knew beforehand what our plan was. They knew what exactly we were coming in here to do, what it is that we must learn, how we must evolve, and how we must grow to fulfill our purpose. And in order to have the full experience of being human, we just would have no recollection of that divinity or that communion with God before we got here. I just imagine that as each of our souls accepted our assignments, that we just began to commune with each other, that parents and friends and siblings and acquaintances and even adversaries, those who would participate in our life story, we begin to commune with one another. And even as we flip through the pages of our life story, we could even see that today, all of us will be here today at Carmel Temple for our 11 o'clock service. It's sometimes hard, well, a lot of times it's hard and challenging for our human minds to just conceive that things are really happening as they should, that all is well, all is in divine order. And, you know, just to put some real spin on it, when we look out at the world, we see all these people hurting. And we don't really have to look that far. If you look at your neighbors, friends, even within our own families, and even within our own lives, there are a lot of people, just a lot of people that are in pain and suffering and hurt. So on a soul level, we can accept, we can receive that everything is in divine order. But from a human perspective, when you're hurting and when you see others hurting, that can be a challenge to accept. So today I just want to go through a few steps that we can just share and talk about how to live out our life's journey, the soul plan, while participating in life. The first one I want to talk about is accept the experiences of your journey. Those experiences that feel good and those that don't. We have to accept when things turn out the way we want them to, and even accept when they don't turn out the way we want them to. Because life is not going to always look like we think it should look. Because, you know, we always think we know best, right? But we are here for the experience of life and not for the perfection of it. Depending on what's going on in our lives could look one way, one day, and one day the next. Things are going to happen in our lives. People are going to come in and out of our lives, and vice versa. And when I think about it, sometimes in my downtime, I like to watch Lifetime movies. And when I think about those movies, I realize that the actors are playing the characters for roles that are written for the scripts they were given. You always have the nice guy. You got the nosy neighbor. You have the villain, sometimes the love interest. And that could be either one of us at any time. But we are each fulfilling roles for which we have been assigned by our very own souls. And so life sometimes can go from being a comedy to a horror film all in the same day. But we have to realize that everybody likes a good ending. So it's gonna work out. Our script has been written. Our assignment has been given. Everything really is working out just as it's supposed to work out. But regardless of how it looks, the key is to be with the experience. Sometimes we just want to rush right through it because it doesn't feel good. But we have to know that each experience comes to teach us something. A lot of times that might feel uncomfortable. And it makes us want to go from scene 2 to scene 20 in our lives all in the same day. Because we just want it over. But when we focus on controlling the experience, trying to fix ourselves and the people that we love, when we spend time reacting to what happens and what's not happening in our lives, and we're doing this and we start doing that, we miss being with the experience and we rob others of their chance to be with the experience as well. Now, this happens a lot. We see in our families. You know, as parents especially, We don't want our children to make the mistakes that we made. We don't want them to go through what we've been through or have some of the similar experiences that we had. So sometimes we can spend a whole lot of time trying to prevent a situation, trying to manipulate a situation, just to spare them from the pain of it all. And even sometimes when they're grown, we still do it. But even though our intention is one that's good, here's what we must remember. We don't know each and every person's soul's plan. We don't know that. We don't know what's needed for them to evolve, to develop, and to grow into the person they came here to be. So when we're trying to prevent an experience, it could be the very thing they need for their healing. But when we spend time listening, being with the experience, we'll receive the guidance that we need. I was reading a story the other day in a book, and in the book, the minister shared her story that her daughter at 16 years old left home. And she left home and began a life on the street that her mother would have never imagined for her. And that was a very difficult and dark time for them. But later she realized that it was that experience that propelled her into her purpose, because it awakened her to the truth of who she really is. And today, she's giving workshops on healing to those who are needy. And who best to give those type of workshops than one who's actually been through the experience, lived through the experience, and another. But we have to trust God to guide us. Some experiences may be so very uncomfortable, bring pain, and bring us grief, and cause us to hit the rock bottom. But when we can't see our way through, we got to know that God is the rock at the bottom. We have to trust that. And that the experience that has come to help us and not to harm us, and to help us to develop and to grow, because circumstances and situations always come with a message. They always bring us a message. And sometimes it's through a sickness, or through a divorce, or through a layoff, or just through your everyday life. But our circumstances always bring a message, because life, our lives, are always speaking to us. The challenge is sometimes we're not listening. We're just not listening. Mary Ann Williamson has this beautiful prayer that I love to recite. She says, "Show me what you have me to do. Show me where you have me to go. Show me what you'll have me to say, and to whom I'm willing. Please speak to me in a way that I understand." Our lives, God is always speaking to us in our language, what we understand. The challenge is, are we listening? Are we listening? We need to allow our lessons to heal. We get lessons all the time. We receive lessons all the time. But do we allow them to do what they came to do? A Course in Miracles says, all things are lessons that God would have me to learn. So at the soul level, we are getting precisely what we need in our lives for our spiritual growth. Because our soul knows. It knows the pains that we carry, the burdens that we bear, even the ones that we're not even aware of. Sometimes emotions that we have can be buried so deep that we have no remembrance or recollection of it consciously. Because when things are so traumatic, our subconscious mind will block it from our conscious mind until we're ready to heal it. The thing is, we always attract what it is we need to heal. choose. But what we need to remind ourselves of is that we don't get to choose what that looks like. We don't. Sometimes situations that can appear to be the worst that could possibly ever happen to us may hold the key to healing something deep within. You know, sometimes if we ever say, you know, I need love, I need love in my life. Anything and everything unlike love can show up. And you're like, that's not what I asked for. But it comes to reveal those places within you that may still be unlovable, where you feel are unlovable. And it gives you the opportunity to show love to yourself. It's just like with strength. Strength isn't built when things are going well. Strength is built and it's gained when we endure the difficulties or the challenges that come into our lives. Situations that appear to be worst, again, could possibly be the very thing that we need to heal us. Sometimes the most difficult people in our lives are the best teachers. Sometimes it's the people who are seen to be the meanest and cruelest people are awakening something that's in us that needs to be healed. If we were to just sit back and inventory our lives, I'm sure that we'll find that after the situation is over, the bad relationship has ended, not only did we learn something, but we grew from it. And we're much better after having the experience, because whatever we've gone through, we've made it through because we're still here. And it's made us who we are today. Regardless of how hard, how challenging, how difficult an experience may seem, everything is just as it needs to be in order for us to heal, to grow, to develop, and fulfill the purpose for why we're here. God says, and I love this verse, I will give you beauty for your ashes. Because nothing we go through is ever wasted. In 2016, I had the pleasure of visiting on a girls' trip, South Africa. And it was a very moving trip for me because that was the home of Nelson Mandela. And those of you who may not know him, he fought for racial harmony in a country that promoted racial segregation, racial oppression. He was in prison for what he believed for 27 years. But you know what? He maintained who he was the whole time during that sentence. He didn't let the prison get within him. He superseded and overcame that sentence. And what's remarkable about it and shows the power of forgiveness is because when he was released, at the age of 75 years old, he became the president of the same country that oppressed him. In one lifetime, he went from prisoner to president. And as I traveled through that town and that country, this happened and ended in 1990s, so it's so recent. And so some of the cab drivers and Uber drivers would tell stories about him and how when he came into power, those who had been oppressed, they were ready for revenge. But he would always say, let the people come out of their houses. He promoted peace and forgiveness when he could have chose something totally different. Our lives may not look like we think they should, and especially when we're going through something difficult. But if we can just hold on and trust God through the process, he always sees us through, always. If it happened, it was supposed to happen, the way it happened, when it happened, where it happened, how it happened, that's the life story. This is true forgiveness, when we can really realize that everything is in divine order, when we can trust God more than we trust ourselves. That's the key. When we can trust God, when we can't even see his hand moving in our lives, we gotta trust and know it's still there. He never, ever leaves us. That poem, The Footprints, we all know, is that when we're walking in the sand, and it's during the most difficult times that there was only one set of footprints and not two. And the author says, well, God, that's one of the darkest, deepest times of my life. Where were you? Why would you leave me during those times? And God said, those are the times that I carried you. That's why there's only one set of footprints. We gotta trust. Trust. Be with the experience. Listen to what the experience is coming to tell us. And trust that it's always gonna lead us down the path that we are purposed for. It may not look great all the time. The days may not be sunny all the time. It may rain for days on and days in. But if we hold on and trust and believe, God got it. The last point I want to make is that we should spend time each day just awakening to our true self by affirming our identity, declaring, I'm the righteousness of God. I'm the peace of God. I am the joy of God. God is leading and directing my every step. I am the light and love of God. Because as unique expressions of God, we are here fulfilling that purpose according to our soul's plan. And that plan and that purpose is so much bigger than us. It's so much bigger than us, our inner circle, our family. We are a gift to the world. So I just want to encourage you to partner with the experiences of your life. Welcome them in, even when they don't feel good, even when they don't look like we want them to. God got us. God is always with us and will never, ever leave us or forsake us.